Hey everyone, I know it's spring, but it's never too early to think about harvest. Gearinghoff is head of the class no matter the crop, making premium harvesting heads for all your harvesting needs. Check them out at gearinghoff.com.
And they were driving to a gig, and like some wacky FM DJ pops on and talks about this tornado that had hit a pig farm, and he's like, it was a pork tornado. And so, of course, that's a terrible name, and we say, that's it. And then here we are nearly 15 years later with this terrible, terrible band name.
There is a podcast in Iowa, Farm4Profit was named by they. Faith stirred up a banker near, then quick came an auctioneer. Making profit was their first goal, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Soon may the farmers come to bring us guests and beer and fun. One day when the recording's done, we'll take our mics and go. These formats shook us to our core. With Farm4Fun, you will not snore. The banker set all mics to on, and the mullet of podcasts was born. Soon may the farmers come to bring us guests and beer and fun. One day when the recording's done, we'll take our mics and go. Before we knew, conversations grew. Growing corn even said F you. So won't you join Tenor, Dave, Corey, and crew? Please like, share, review. Soon may the farmers come to bring us guests and beer and fun. One day when the recording's done, we'll take our mics and go.
That was almost textbook. I don't know if I could have done that any better.
It's the longest tap open I've ever heard.
Listeners, welcome back to the Farm4Profit podcast. This is Tanner Winterhoff.
This is Corey Hillebo.
And it is Farm4Fun week, as you could tell by that can opening. So welcome. Thanks for coming to party.
It doesn't feel like springtime, right? Like it's just cloudy and dreary. I don't know when this show's going to come out. Maybe it'll be, hopefully when you're listening to this, it's sunny and like 75.
Yes.
We're planting or getting ready to plant. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Listeners, thank you again for subscribing to this podcast and for telling your friends and family. Please continue to do that. If you've got any ideas for guests or other episodes, farm4profitllc@gmail.com. And don't forget to leave us your reviews.
Yep, today's listener review is brought to you by BW Fusion. Just a reminder that when you sign up for at least 500 acres of the 401 microbial team, you get one free field in the 365 program when mentioning the Farm4Profit podcast. So that's the 365 program where they're in your fields, I don't know how many times, a bunch of times, taking tissues and soils together.
Every time you drove by the field, somebody was out there.
I always honked. And then remember, I didn't know who it was, but then we found out. That was
That's
awesome.
right. This comes from NEK Grains. I assume that's Nebraska. Would that be Nebraska K Grains? Off of Instagram. Great podcast, guys. Just found you guys, and I've been listening. Oh, no, they're not from Nebraska. They're from Vermont. It says right in the review. Been listening every show from our farm in Vermont. You all need some Vermont beer to try. I like this guy. I'm sorry for screwing up your username.
I'm glad you're not from Nebraska.
That's right.
Vermont sounds so much more interesting.
Oh, that's fun. Thank you for leaving that behind. And don't forget to check out BW Fusion at bw-fusion.com. But now, I'm excited.
Let's get to it.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's see
Spin
if I
it,
can,
DJ.
Let's see if I can get this done the right way here.
That makes me want to sing that song. Do I need to wait here?
You got to hang out just a little bit.
Oh, wow, Dad. Hold on, I don't know the words, okay? Pretty cool.
All right.
Today's Farm4Fun guest comes highly recommended from our friend, the band Tyler Richton and the High Bank Boys. This man is a drummer of one of the best cover bands in the Midwest. They are known for their loyal following, extreme skill, experience of over 600 shows, and selling most venues out of alcohol. But that's not all that this man does. On top of having one of the most beautiful beards I've ever seen, he has a fast-growing podcast called The Confused Breakfast, where they review movies. From Cedar Rapids, the drummer from the Pork Tornadoes, Mike Schulte.
All right. That's beautiful right there. I've never had that kind of introduction before, man.
Thank you. I stumbled a little bit, but that's what you get.
You know why
That's
you
what
stumbled is because you said Tyler's name wrong, I think.
Is that what
I'm
it was?
pretty sure you did.
He stumbled, and then he also...
Richton. Yeah.
The high rinkers.
High brinkers.
We're skating on a rink or something now.
Sorry. Tyler Richton and the High Bank Boys. Or Rickton.
Say
We don't
Tyler.
know.
Our friend Tyler.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. What's going on, man?
Not much.
Thanks for driving over.
I'm happy to be here, all the way from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
So this is not a normal guest for us, I would say, right? Would you say that, Tanner?
He's normal.
I mean, yeah, very, very normal guy, but
What are you
not
trying to say,
probably
man?
our normal. He walked in here in a dress. No.
Yes, it's already starting off exactly like all of our shows start off.
So it seems normal, really.
It seems normal, but yeah. I mean, do you have any ties to agriculture?
I don't. Funny story. I was thinking about that on the way. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. So I like inner city St. Louis, Missouri till I was 14.
East St. Louis?
Almost close. Took the Metrolink there once.
Yep.
But my dad took a new job in Cedar Rapids, Iowa when I was 14.
Okay.
And I just remember being like, excuse me, where? Like, what is Iowa? And the first time we drove up here, you take the Avenue of the Saints, the old one, and you're going through, you get out of St. Louis, and it's like farmland. And I had never actually seen farmland before.
Yep.
I saw my first cow. I saw like the rolls of hay that I had no clue what those were. I'm like, what are those things?
Yes, hay bays.
Hay bays?
That's what I called them as a kid. Hay bays.
Hey, Bay, like BAE, Bay. But yeah, no, I'm a big city guy that came to Iowa, and all I wanted to do was leave.
Yeah.
And I said, when I leave high school, I'm out of here. And then I said, well, I'll go to college at Iowa, But then I'm going to the coast. I'm going to LA, And here I am. I fell in love over the years with the state of Iowa and with the people in this state. And so I don't actually have any ties to farming, but like I want to. So if anybody wants to hire me, I'll come work for your farm. I need to, this beard is a facade. I don't know how to work on cars. I'm not a farmer.
I'm seeing a show develop in my head right now. Mike goes to the farm, like you go out and
it'd
do
be
all
great.
these random tasks and get dirty, like Mike Rowe's dirty jobs almost, so.
You're taking advantage of someone who has no idea.
Yeah.
So there may be a 10 times way easier to do this process, but they're going to make you do it the hard way.
Yeah.
Okay. And I won't know any better. I'll just be like, oh, this is how you do it. So you pick the poop up by hand? Okay. Okay.
We
I
don't
got
even
it.
taste it and to see if it's, the right kind or, if they're sick.
Don't even get gloves. We'll give you, it's the same thing. It's just like those plumbers. We'll give you your sandwich. You just don't eat the last bite. Just right there.
You
on
must
the
have
back
been
of
stuck in the city because, St. Louis is surrounded by agriculture too. I know, I got some buddies down there, and Bayer is located down there. Anheuser-Busch.
But I just never left.
Yeah.
I didn't have a reason to leave the town of St. Louis, the city. So yeah.
Wow.
I saw the Clydesdales at the brewery.
Yeah.
Does that count?
That counts.
That's what I thought horses looked
Does-
like all my life.
Does Missouri have a state fair?
Probably.
But you never went?
It was definitely not in St. Louis. Do you know what the capital of Missouri is?
Drop them.
Columbia.
Jefferson City.
Ooh, 2 for 2.
Wow.
Whoa. Yes.
Where's Jefferson City?
Jeff City's like right in the middle. It's right, I think it's right south of I-70. If you're heading to the Ozarks from here.
That's funny.
I think you go through Jeff
Chuck
City.
Weldon is going to just rail us for this.
So literally your only tie to agriculture is the fact that you're in a band
Yes.
that has the word pork
Yes.
in it. And tornadoes.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, so
I was going to try to work that into my announcement, but
So
it didn't work.
Just get it over with. Ask the question you want to ask.
I don't know.
Oh.
And no, everybody.
Why?
I know you have a question.
Why is it the pork
Yes,
tornadoes?
there you go.
It is actually right here on the paper. Where did that name come from?
It's the number one question that I get anytime I do an interview, and I'm always like, "Wow, that's the first time anyone's ever said that." And really? No, of course not. It's kind of a dumb story, but it's actually kind of funny. The band's been around for almost 15 years now, in one shape or another. And when the band started, it was in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And the guys that started the band decided to change their band name every show.
Every show.
Yeah, which is a really good idea. It'd be like you changing your podcast name every podcast. Because people are totally going to know that was the band that
we
I
have
saw.
a hard enough time reminding them that it has the number 4 in the middle of it.
I used to
not
do
the
that
word
on
for it.
Twitter. I used to change my handle like every week.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they decided, and they were terrible names too. It was like Prophets of Doom. It was Swallowers of Planets. At one point they were like Rage Against the Pork Tornadoes or something They came up with all these stupid names, and one day they said, we need to determine what our final name is. So whatever the next dumb name we come up with, that's the one we stick with. And they were driving to a gig, and like some wacky FM DJ pops on and talks about this tornado that had hit a pig farm, and he's like, it was a pork tornado. And so, of course, that's a terrible name, and we say, that's it. And then here we are nearly 15 years later with this terrible, terrible band name. But it works because we'll travel out of state.
Yeah.
We just played in L.A. a couple weeks ago, and they're like, oh, duh, Iowa band, Pork Tornadoes. That's why, right?
Yeah.
And we go, yeah, sure. I mean, describes us, I guess. But yeah.
I actually didn't put the 2 and 2 together, but I could see that. You could be in any other state,
Yeah.
and they're going to think Iowa.
It's the Pork Tornado Alley.
Because you can't think Kansas because there's very little pork in Kansas.
Lots of tornadoes.
That'd have to be the
Lots
beef
of tornadoes.
tornado. Or the wheat tornado.
The wheat tornado. Yeah. The wheat tornado. There you go.
So were you not in the band when it started?
I wasn't, man. This started in Cedar Falls. Yeah, like I said, like 15-something years ago, and I didn't know the guys. It was actually one of those things where I weaseled my way into the band, and I'm very proud of this fact.
it's kind of like Corey with the podcast.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I did weasel my way in. Yeah,
You just go, oh, that's a cool
Let's see
thing.
if we
I
got
should
the
do
same
it.
story. Let's see if we got the same story.
So I was playing in another band that opened up for the Pork Tornadoes in Cedar Falls, and I sit there going, man, these guys are pretty good. I feel like they don't have the drive, though. Like they could be better. They could be bigger.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I lived in Cedar Rapids at the time, I told them I could get them a gig in Cedar Rapids, but that the money wasn't that good, so they should just leave their drummer at home and I'll play it for free.
Yeah.
And so every time they started coming to Cedar Rapids, I would just play with them. And then eventually their drummer, one of the most talented drummers in the state, he got asked to play with a national touring act out of Texas. And they're like, what do we do? And I'm just going, hi,
Hey.
I already know your songs. And then,
this guy.
and then once they let me in, I got all the social media passwords. I bought the trailer. I stored the trailer. I was like, hi, you can't replace me now. And so here I am still.
Who got the better end of that deal, right?
Look at me, man.
I don't think my way into the podcast was quite as good of a story.
No, you just told us we sucked and needed to do it differently.
Well, that was I did the nice way of saying that.
Yeah, kind of. Where'd the guy? Who'd the guy go tour with?
So it was a blues guitarist named Hamilton Loomis out of Texas. I mean, and the crazy part is he being one of the better drummers in Iowa. His name's Dante Ware. He went to play bass for this guy. He's also one of the best bass players in the state. He's just unbelievably talented out of Des Moines. So yeah, I got real lucky because that band has become just one of my favorite things in the entire world. And the stuff we've done since I've been able to join that band has been everything I've ever dreamed. I wanted to be a rock star my entire life, and I thought I'd be this next, like, Metallica or something, writing my original music. But my success came from joining a cover band, which is mind-blowing to me. But
Well, some of the biggest acts at like state fairs and things are the cover bands.
Yeah. The tribute acts and stuff like that. Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's a cover band.
Yeah.
And is there a genre that you stick with, or it's just any cover?
We're all over the place, man. I mean, it started off as just rock and roll, and then we fell into this niche of doing like girl pop songs, but adding a rock and roll spin to it. It wasn't a planned thing. It just sort of like we learned a Taylor Swift song one day, and we played it, and all of a sudden it sounded edgier and crunchier. And then one day Mason decided to learn Tennessee Whiskey by the newest version of it, Chris Stapleton.
Yep.
We put it on YouTube, and it hit 7 million views, and it's become our most popular cover song we do. So we're 80s through today, country to pop to rock to rap to, I mean, we try to say that we're like the Iowa weather. If you don't like a song, just wait another one and you'll eventually like it.
I mean, that's kind of my listening.
I was just
taste
getting ready to
is
say that.
everything. So
Yeah.
that's why it's so successful.
It should be that way, though, right? I mean, I don't think you should pigeonhole yourself to say, I only listen to this artist, this genre, this era. I mean, music's great. And if you open yourself up to it, I actually kind of like Taylor Swift songs. Like when you really get into it, you're like, I know why this is popular.
Yeah.
It's pop
Oh,
music.
sure. Yeah. It's just when you said that, your appearance with the beard,
Right.
and a teenage
Yeah.
pop
Romeo,
singers. Yes.
take me.
And I'm looking at the rest of this. So Mason, you mentioned he's guitar and vocals, and then you've got Jerry. He's on your keys.
Yep.
And you all are rocking beards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like those are real. And then what's Corey? So Corey's the bass.
Yes.
Corey spelled wrong.
Wrong way. Okay. Yeah.
Does not have a beard.
What's up with that?
Corey is the original founding member of this band, so we cannot kick him out just because he can't grow a nice beard.
Yeah.
He can. We've been told that he can grow a beard if he tries, but he has been in corporate America Hy-Vee for a very long time.
Yes.
And that is like a thing where I guess if you showed up with a beard, you're good, but you can't go through the
Beard
growing
has
phase.
to be grandfathered
It's
in.
got to be grandfathered in. And so that's his excuse. And, he gets a lot of flack because we didn't plan on being this bearded band, our tagline being beard pop. We did not plan on it, but it just sort of happened. Then Jerry joined the band, and now it's 3 beards to 1. So he gets a lot of crap.
Oh, I bet.
About like, where's your beard? And he hates it so much. So we should talk about it for a little bit
We'll
longer.
keep talking about it. Absolutely. Let's take a break here because I want to get into if this is the full-time gig or not side of things. But thanks to Dahl Distributing, we are back on trying the booze train, and they sent us 3 off-the-wall ones today. So the first one, Corey, what are we looking
This
at?
is from Exile, and I believe, what do you call that? Tico?
Tico.
Tico time. Tropical wheat ale with passion fruit and pink guava.
Whoa, I already
Is
took a
pink
drink.
guava different from regular guava?
Yes.
What color is regular guava?
Actually, it's what the kids are calling crushable. Like, this is a crushable beer in the summertime. Like, you've been sweating a
He's
little
so
bit.
hip.
I
The
can
social
crush it.
media
You know what I
guy,
mean?
he's
Yeah.
Crushable.
Yeah.
That's hip. Yeah,
Should we shotgun like one of these? We
Oh,
should do that sometime.
that
Might get a little weird.
this. This has a lot of flavor. Like I'm looking at the can, and I feel like I can taste.
It's very festive.
Yeah,
It's very pink.
but there's all kinds of fruit
Yep.
in this.
Yeah, it is.
This is a lighter wheat ale.
Yep.
Very summertime.
4.9% alcohol.
Yeah. And who is it? It's Exile? Oh, it's
Yep.
local too.
Yep, right in Des Moines.
It might be one of those beers where you koozie up so that it doesn't look like the can's a little,
Yeah.
you don't want to be caught
a
carrying
little
this
teenage-
can
At
around.
least it's not one of the skinny cans.
Right.
You can't hide those.
That's right.
The guy that's teenage pop with a beard is worried about what his can looks like.
You got to hide that can.
Well, it feels like you got a White Claw or an Ultra, and then people
Right.
are judging you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I totally get that. And then you got the guys that know they're being judged that want to tell you as soon as you show up, like, "Oh, I just like these. These are crushable."
I know it's kind of a joke why I brought these. You should try one though.
Yeah, pretty good.
I can drink a case of them. That's why I bring them because I can drink a whole case. We all
don't
know
have to
those
explain
guys.
yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
Just drink it.
Yeah.
Have a good time. That's awesome. So yes, back to it. Obviously, playing in a band because the comment you've made is not what you do full time, right?
It's not. When this band started, we were all out of college. I mean, for the most part, when it became serious, we were all out of college. We were all working full-time jobs. And, the band then sort of evolved into this monster of, well, we just play a couple times and we make $50 a piece at the local bar, to like, now we employ people and we have a production company and we're playing sold out venues across the state, Surf Ballroom, Paramount Theater, Simon Estes in Des Moines. So it's one of those things you can't exactly give up because you're an adult now. Why would you?
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where we had a very serious conversation in 2019 about quitting our full-time jobs and going full-time. I mean, once some of our YouTube success took off, there then becomes this come to Washington, D.C., come to Maryland, come to Oregon. You start to get that, and you're like, we could do it. But then we didn't make that decision. Then 2020, of course, happens, and we all went, oh my God. Oh, my God. Oh, thank you so much for, no. Wow. Okay, I'm glad we didn't do that. So we all, other than Jerry is a full-time musician. He's also plays in a dueling piano band called Piano Palooza. He will be set forever to just play music the rest of his life. Myself, Mason, and Corey have built careers in other avenues that we feel we would probably be stupid to let go of. And it works. Right now, everything works. We play 60-something shows a year. We work our jobs on the side. We have families. Everything's working as it is right now. We're going to leave it there. See what happens in the future.
Have you ever thought about putting together a Pork Tornadoes B, like the JV?
We've thought about it, like franchising the band.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the Spasmatics before?
I have, actually. That's one of my aunt's favorite bands.
They are franchised. There are like 7 of them, and it's Spasmatics Chicago, Spasmatics Miami, Spasmatics Las Vegas. And they, from what I understand, it's the same set list, the same jokes, the same instruments, and they just interchange members all over the place. So that's the future, I think,
I've
right
never
there.
heard of that.
Well, I think so too, especially if you've got a concentration of people wanting to hear and
Right.
and see. I mean, you can do the arrangements.
Yes.
You guys can be the clever and creativeness behind taking a Taylor Swift song and making it awesome. Awesomer.
But
Right.
some of the issues with that is that we've unfortunately made ourselves, it's not necessarily about the music all the time with us. It's become like you mentioned before this, like the podcast, you sort of become bigger than you actually are. People are like, oh, I listen to you all the time, and it's so cool. It's the same with the band. People think we're like these giant rock stars, and they do come to hear. Mason's one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if people can sing Tennessee Whiskey the way he does. I've yet to hear anyone sing it that way. So could you really add another person in that spotlight that people are expecting to hear Mason? So I don't know.
All right, right now I'm going to do this. Listeners, you have to listen all the way through the end of this episode because I will play your version
should.
of Tennessee Whiskey.
That'd be awesome.
And hell, they have to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now you have
Or
to.
they go they'll just fast forward.
No,
over
there's
it.
no such thing. A podcast.
That's
So-
cool, but I see I see the dilemma. I mean, yeah, it's you guys.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same if it wasn't you guys.
Exactly.
But 60 shows a year, I'm sure you're getting way more calls than 60.
We are. We're currently booked through the rest of 2022 already. 2023 is filling up. People are still calling. And like I do think 2022 summer, for anybody in Iowa, I think it's going to be one of these resurgence. There's going to be a town festival. It's going to be the most attended town festival in history, and everybody's going to be there. And I think it's going to be an incredible summer.
A lot of these.
A lot of that.
Yep.
And so
Shot in the face.
a lot of people are a little behind the eight ball on that. Some of these town festivals are now making those calls when we've been booked since last summer for some of these dates. So I think it's going to be an incredible summer. But you're right. I mean, right now we just can't quit those day jobs.
I think you told me before we started you were almost like, 5 show requests a day?
Yeah.
You're beating them off with a stick.
Prices
I'm
need to
glad
go
you
up here,
finished.
man.
I'm glad you finished that comment.
I mean, man. Yeah, prices, you got it. Supply and demand, man. There's only so much pork tornado to go around.
Exactly.
And the demand is high. So, speaking of town festivals, I think you got one little announcement that
Yeah.
you might share
Should
with us.
we can drop it? I mean, you guys
can
are
drop it
mostly.
anytime.
I know you got listeners all over the place, but
Yeah.
we are in Huxley, Iowa. I don't
Yep.
know if many people know that. That is a place where we're going to be performing for the first time ever. We're going to play the Huxley Prairie Festival on August 27th.
Probably. End of
Somebody
August.
tell me whatever that Saturday is.
August.
I think it's whatever that Saturday is, end of August.
that's right.
You heard it here first. The 27th. Yeah,
Really?
we're excited. It's kind of a fun thing for us to show up in smaller towns for the first time because there's a lot of what the hell is going on. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard about these guys, but they're what? And there's a lot of crossed arms. But by the end of the day,
Yep.
they've sold more beer than they've ever sold.
Oh, yeah.
People are loving it. People are singing along to Taylor Swift that never thought they ever would.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're still going to get I Hate Prairie Fest guy right behind the stage.
Oh yeah.
He's still going to be there and with his arms crossed the whole night. There's one guy that lives right where the stage goes, and he hates Prairie Fest because of the music. Because he just doesn't get to go to bed that night.
Okay.
Like, nobody else is going to bed. We're having fun.
We're raising money. We're having fun. You can chill out.
Yeah.
Tell him to
exactly.
leave town for the weekend. Why doesn't he do that?
That's what we should do. Is we should just offer to buy him a hotel room.
Yeah.
Buy him a
go.
cruise.
Get him a little.
Go away.
Yeah. There you go.
Do some city auction thing that like one lucky winner wins a cruise.
Yes.
And it's always going to
Just
be
gonna
him.
be him.
It's like
Only
you.
on that
Wow.
date.
See you later.
You walk by and you give him a ticket like, hey, I bought this for you. And it just happens to always be the winning ticket.
Only redeemable.
he lost
August
it, but you're like,
27th.
no, we wrote down who that was, and it was you.
Yes. That's funny.
Oh, shoot.
So there's something else that you do in your spare time. So
Yeah,
not only do
in
you work
all my spare time.
you work a full-time job.
Yep.
And you're in a band, putting over 60 shows a year in. But you also are messing around in the podcast world,
I am.
right?
I had a moment. I'm a very hands-on guy. I like to be creative. I like to do stuff with my time and create things. And in 2020, when the band went away, I mean, we didn't play a show from early February until we played like 2 in June, 1 in July, and then we didn't play again until March of 2021. I was struggling. I didn't have that creative outlet. I just, everything sucked. And so I've always wanted to. I've done a few podcasts before. I had an Iowa music podcast for a little while there. With the Pork Tornadoes, actually, I have a podcast called Pretty Cool, where we talk about funny stories that happen to us at the gigs. We usually do it right before we get on stage and with liquors involved.
Yep.
But they're like local things, right? You have to know who we are, or you have to be involved in the Iowa music scene,
Right.
Like with your podcast, you've got to be involved in farming.
Yeah,
But
until today. No.
until today. Wait till our fans start showing up on your doorstep. But I've always wanted to do a more globally based podcast where anybody, you could tell anyone on the street and they might go, oh, that sounds fun, I want to listen to it. And I've always loved nostalgia based things like movies, TV shows from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. So I found two buddies of mine. I said, let's start a podcast where we review movies that we all know and love. Yeah. We talk about it from a nostalgic perspective, and then we watch it, and then we all go scene by scene, like with a critical eye, to just strip away that nostalgia, be like, is this really a good movie or not?
Yeah.
And we started doing it, and it was super fun, but it was like, you get 50 downloads here, 100 downloads there. And everything's great. The quality's awesome right from the start, and we're just kind of waiting for a big break. Then I decided to start a TikTok. I had never had a TikTok, but I go, that's the new thing. Like, who cares about everything else? Maybe I can take audio clips of our show and I can put it with the movie that we're talking about. And I just started the channel, and a couple views here, and then all of a sudden, a few start taking off, like they do. If you're regular on TikTok, things will eventually take off if you have good content.
Yep.
And so I was doing a video a day for like 3 months, 4 months, and then all of a sudden they started taking off.
Yep.
You're getting up to 30,000, 50,000 subscribers, followers, or whatever. Yep. Then one day, I think we were at 100,000 followers on TikTok. Bert Kreischer finds out about he's following us.
Okay.
And he's just watching our videos. And then on his podcast, Two Bears, One Cave, he discusses how great the Confused Breakfast podcast is and how awesome our TikTok is, and then plays, like, my voice is, he puts it up to the microphone, and my voice from TikTok is on his microphone. Oh, that's cool. And all of a sudden,
no kidding. Floodgates
open. But I have a theory about that, because if we hadn't had good content, people would have flooded to us and then 1-star reviewed us and left. Yep. But everybody stayed, man. I mean, that month we hit #1 on the U.S. film and movie charts for that month. Wow. Which was insanity, right? We're going from 50 downloads to 10,000 downloads that month.
Yep.
And then TikTok kept taking off. And so we're lucky because we were able to retain a lot of those people. Mm-hmm. The TikTok's still going. We're doing things. And so I think last month we were in like the top 10 in US, Canada, Australia, and England for film movie review podcasts.
That is not a small feat.
No.
It's insanity.
That's cool.
But dude, it finally gave me that. I needed that creative outlet when the band stuff wasn't happening, and this provided it. But the bad part is that now it's such an ingrained part. And now the band's back, and I'm like, oh my god! Now I got to do both of these.
Yeah, you can't stop it.
I can't stop at this
feed
point.
The monster, man.
I have to. So it's been an absolute blast to finally pick a podcast idea that can like move the masses. Right? It's not going to move everybody, and not everybody's going to listen to it. But if you have any sort of love for Groundhog Day, The Goonies, Breakfast Club, Three Ninja, like all these old movies.
Yeah.
We just did the OG Batman with Michael Keaton because of the new Batman. And a lot of times people will come to fight us because they'll be like, dude, I love the old Batman and you guys talk crap about it. But then they'll listen to our episode. They'll be like, you're right. Actually, you're right. That was my nostalgia was talking. I'm sorry. I rewatched it. It wasn't that good. You know, that kind of stuff.
What is the process? Do you guys like, okay, we're going to do this show next week, watch it this weekend?
Yeah.
Really?
We usually go out about 2 months and we say we're going to be doing these movies, recording them on this date. So we try to do our research, right? Like there's 3 of us. One will focus on the critical reviews and the ratings of the movie and that aspect. One will focus on more of the technical aspect, and I'll focus on the timelines and the words and verbiage. And then we will all just sit there and just riff on that movie.
Have at it, right?
Yeah. And sometimes we absolutely love it. more than we used to. And sometimes we absolutely hate it more than we used to.
Because there's some of those movies that I went and listened to a couple of your shows that I remember watching a lot as a kid.
Yes.
And then have it for a while. And then to go back and be like, oh, yeah, it isn't quite like I remembered it.
Yeah. But it was like the coolest thing at the time.
Yeah. One of those, our lowest rated 2 movies that we did that we all loved from childhood. One was Blank Check. Remember that movie where the kid gets the $1 million check
yes,
and he buys like a mansion?
Yep.
We loved that as a kid.
Yep.
Then we rewatched it and we were like, what is, like a 30-year-old woman just made out with a 12-year-old boy in a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that we gave that a terrible. Same thing with Three Ninjas. Remember that? The 3 little kids.
I don't remember that.
They had like a ninja grandpa and they fought bad guys. As a kid, that was everybody's favorite movie. And rewatch, what is this? Some of them that reverse went up were 2 movies in particular: Stand By Me and Breakfast Club. Those 2 movies as kids, we were all like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Yep.
And then when we rewatched as adults, those movies made so much more sense. And it's cool to strip those emotions away and try to talk about it with like a rational modern day eye, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's just interesting to think of, like, when you're making those movies. If you're the one making those movies, to think, do you ever know the scope that
Yeah, it's like what's
it's
popping
going
in
to
my
be
mind. Reviewed.
reviewed 30 years later?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, what's popping in my mind right now is like Animal House and Stripes and A Few Good Men, and those I've watched since.
Yeah.
And already have criticized in my own mind, like, oh, it's still funny, but really?
All the old James Bond movies and all that.
yeah.
We did GoldenEye, and like I hated it. It was just so bad. But as a kid, that was one of the highest grossing movies of like the mid '90s. You know. But there's some stuff you have to give a little bit of flexibility to. You have to understand that times were different.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like some of the language sometimes that was acceptable to be used in movies is nowadays like, whoa, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And you can't PC police this
can't
movie.
cancel 'em.
You can't like this is art and this is what it was. So you can't cancel it, but you can at least be like, well, they wouldn't have said that nowadays if they made that movie. So it's a lot of we have a lot of laughs. We make fun of a lot of stuff, and it's really great. Like I find myself re-listening to something that I've already recorded and edited, and I still have a good time like listening to it.
Yeah.
So you got to assume that it's a good sign. People like it.
Those are my favorite shows. And yes, it's kind of, when you say it out loud, it sounds really weird. But yes, I have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
I go back and I pre-edit. Then it comes back clean. I listen to it again. Then I'll listen to it.
And then when it uploads, you'll listen to it.
Right. And just like you said, I know when it's going to be a good show because I'm still laughing at us.
Yeah.
And it's not usually us. It's the conversation and direction that it went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people, that's how you know it's genuine.
Yeah.
If you can seriously listen to it and just be like, that was good.
Yeah.
You know your audience is going to connect with that. We haven't had many, cross my fingers, we haven't had very many bombs by any means, but I'm sure they're on the way. We're at episode like 75 at this point. Started, coming up on 2 years. Used to do every 2 weeks, and then we moved to every week. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, same for you guys. You've been doing this for, you said almost 3 years now?
Yeah. And we learned right away that the every 2 weeks doesn't work. Even if you're still there every Monday, but they can tell you're not there every Monday.
Yep.
And that, if listeners, you are listening to us for the first time because you followed the Port Tornadoes over here, thank you. But that's the different structure we have. Our Farm for Fun shows are like this. This is what it is. So if you're not into agriculture and you just like cool stories and finding out new beverages, just skip every other week. Just go back and skip your show.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about ag, great. We've got some other shows in there that are awesome that can apply to anybody in business. But no, it's fun.
When you look at your stats, I'm going to turn this on to you guys. When you look at your stats, do you notice that Farm for Fun is different amounts of listeners than the regular episodes, or is it about the same?
So originally we thought the fun show, when the fun shows came on, so that's when.
Hold on. We'll get to this
beer.
question.
Okay.
Let's taste
All right,
this.
I'm the interviewer now.
All right.
No, my hands are making it warm, so we got to drink
All
this. Doll Distributing dropped off another one. And we've had Blake's Hard Cider on here a couple of times. We've actually had Andrew Blake himself. This one I'm excited about because one of my dad's favorite candies is a cordial cherry. So that's a chocolate-covered cherry, for those of you that don't know.
Smell it.
So packing a full-bodied profile of a cherry cordial into the essence of forbidden fruit with this haunting aroma of rich cocoa entwined with Michigan Montgomery cherries. This cider lures you with each sip.
It's got so many flavors.
I know. It's hard to tell that this is even a cider.
Yeah.
Oh,
The chocolate and then the cherry hits.
that is so
Weird.
good.
It is good.
So have you had a
Couldn't
twin
have
bang
any of
before?
No. What's that?
Thank you.
So a twin bang is like
Thank you.
it's like a cherry mash. So it's a
That was my
Some
PC
weird
answer.
Yeah.
Northwest Iowa candy.
Okay.
So it's a chocolate. It's a chocolate candy with like a Rice Krispies. You can't say Rice Krispie, but it's like a rice.
It's a homemade thing.
No, it's made by Palmer Candy Company in Lamar's.
Okay.
Exactly.
But that's my mom's favorite candy.
Okay.
And then they made it into an ice cream. So we tasted the ice cream on here, and now we've got to incorporate by accident. Didn't even know this was coming today.
You could almost do a float. Pour that in the ice cream.
Oh, that would be good.
This you could.
That would be good.
Even just vanilla ice cream.
Oh,
This
yeah.
would be great.
This is
But
like
yes.
a dessert. I would have this after a nice meal.
Yeah, this is.
Yep.
I don't say your word earlier. Crushable. This is not crushable.
This is not crushable. This is the opposite of crushable.
Yeah, this is delectable.
What is the
gluten-free.
opposite of crust? Oh, it's gluten free for
Yes.
Ryan.
Oh, that's
Debbie
right.
Titan.
Hey, there you go.
Yep.
We had a listener hit us up on TikTok saying we needed to do more ciders. And just so you know, we had no control. This was coming today. Dahl dropped us off.
Yep.
But no, it's still a good one,
It's not bad.
but a completely different side of the spectrum. Okay, back to your question about do we see a difference
Yeah.
between fun shows and profit shows, Corey?
So I came on the show in June of 2020, May 2020, something or same thing that you were talking about. Like I wasn't going out and seeing my friends, everything was shut down. And so this was my creative outlet.
Yeah.
Right? To start this, or not start, but to come on the podcast.
To make it better.
And well, they were doing, Tanner and Dave's not here, were doing the Farm4Profit podcast, which was just strictly, white tie or black tie, pretty educational, straightforward. And I said, you guys should loosen up a little bit. And, ag's not all just business, right? We drink beer, we hang out.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
Yeah. And so every other week we started the Farm4Fun, and that's when it took off.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So that's actually where it started to expand quite a bit?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. You'd say you had probably 100 to 150 downloads at the time.
Yeah, I go back to the show that I think you started on had like 302.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we just doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled. It's like, holy cow, what's going on here? So you would assume it was the Farm4Fun that did it, right? You would assume that would rise to the top. It's not that way. It's, I think, 5 and 5 is in the
So
top 10.
I'm looking right now at our top 10. Our number one most downloaded shows with Tony Reed. Growing Corn 2020.
Okay.
If you're a TikTok guy, find Growing Corn 2020.
Okay.
Yep.
Funny, wholesome, just one of the greatest people we've ever met. He's held our number one spot forever. And it's been almost a year and a half since we talked.
Wow.
But that's a Farm4Fun show. And then if you go down from 1 to 10, Farm4Fun, profit, Farm4Fun, profit, Farm4Fun,
See,
profit.
that's amazing.
Profit, fun, profit.
And I'm going to take a guess here. I'm thinking that maybe only 20% of people probably listen to both.
Yeah.
probably.
And then maybe your other handfuls are just totally different buckets.
could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, because we will have, when you look at the stats for unique listeners,
Yeah.
we have way more unique listeners than we do downloads.
Ah, gotcha.
So they're definitely, some are showing up only for fun shows,
Yeah.
some are showing up just for the educational side. But we've said it, our listeners nicknamed us the Mullet of Ag Podcast.
Cool.
Business in the front, party in the back,
It's perfect.
profit shows, fun shows. But we've always said that people will find us and come for the fun, and then they stick
Yeah.
around because, like you said, the content's good. It's still good on the
Yeah.
profit shows.
Yeah.
It just targets a different, smaller segment, and you can still learn something.
Yeah.
We've tried to make them entertaining because you have to be.
You have to.
Yeah.
And props to you guys, because as I've gotten more into the podcast world, I truly believe there are currently more podcasts than there are bands in the world right now.
everyone's
'Cause I think
got a podcast.
Everyone has a podcast, but nobody understands. So many times you go, your friend starts a podcast and you download it and you go, cool. And the quality's not that great, but you're supporting, and then 10 episodes in, they just never
quit.
do one again.
Yep.
It's so hard to maintain a podcast and see that slow build, and for you guys to have been doing it for this long, and clearly to have been like gaining support with every month that goes by. I think that's a testament to you guys, and I think the fans are proving it to you.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
We got statistics in an email. It was something, I can't find them right now, like 48 million podcasts out there.
Yeah.
Holy
And they're not all active, but there's been 48 million podcasts.
Yeah.
That's so many.
And then it said there's something like 120 million listeners. So that's almost only 3 listeners.
3 listens for every podcast. Show.
Right.
It actually, sometimes I do listen to a show and I'm like, you've been doing this for 2 years and I guarantee you only have like 3 listeners. How are you still doing this?
That's dedication there.
But there aren't many. Do you think there are many podcasts in Iowa? Because the reason I reached out to you guys is that if you've ever spent any time in the marketing, advertising, social media world, which is what I do for the band, for my real job, for the podcast, it's gotten so unbelievably hard to do Facebook anymore and to actually reach people. And so like you have to think about it in 2022 now of if you're doing any sort of advertising out there and you want to reach people, I truthfully think that we've got to think outside the box now. And I do think local podcasts are some of the best ways to actually reach people. So if you're a sponsor out there, like thinking about wanting to spend your dollars some way, podcasts are the way. If you have something you want to share and you're an interesting subject, podcasts are the way.
Yep.
I think it's going to take a little while, but I do think we're ahead of the curve on some of this. And the awesome people that are sponsoring your podcast, like they understand.
Yep.
They could spend $100,000 on a Facebook ad that's not going to do anything,
right.
Or they can work with you on small chunks of like reaching people.
Yeah, they could sponsor 100 podcasts.
Yeah,
We've talked about this. Corey's got the root feeling for this comment I'm going to make, but we all agree here is everybody's got a podcast. We just hit that 48 million podcasts,
Everywhere.
and like I said, some are getting 300 downloads. Great. Hey, we're not knocking you.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
But if you are a company that started a podcast and you're getting 300 listens, maybe you should partner with somebody local.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just come in and ride a wave.
And the reason the company podcast will never be big is because you got an employee doing it. It's already there, getting paid.
They don't care. There's no emotion there.
There's no emotion. And people just inherently, even if your content's great, they're just inherently like, well, this is going to be one-sided.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can speak our mind here.
Totally.
Right? So, yeah, they can't do that when you're on the clock working for the man.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So it's not real.
Speaking of your marketing side, while I open and pour this last one, I thought something was really cool, and I threw Corey off because we've never done it before. But you guys on your podcast play voicemails.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
I heard that from Theo Vaughn. You know Theo Vaughn? He's a comedian.
No, what?
I don't know Theo Vaughn. I've heard it. Wheeler Walker Jr. had a podcast. And
Okay.
he did the same. I mean, had voicemails.
I did it. I started listening to Theo Vaughn. He's a comedian.
Yep.
He came to Cedar Rapids. I saw him perform, and it was just incredible. And so I started listening to his podcast, and he would play voicemails.
Yep.
And I just thought, what a cool way to let your fans interact. They all want to. I'm sure you get messages all the time, like, "Oh man, you should talk. You should have said this," or "I wish you'd talk about this." And so we started a Google Voice number.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, Theo Vaughn. He was on the Real World Road Rules Challenge for a
Yeah,
while back
yep,
in the day.
yep.
He's hilarious. But yeah, we started a Google Voice number and just let people call. And once a show, we'll pull out a really good, interesting voicemail and play it on the episode. I wonder if you guys should do that.
Well, Tanner set one up. We announced it on the last show we just did.
So the show that comes out after yours,
Okay.
I did say it because I think you're a freaking genius. We read listener reviews every show, and we appreciate every listener review that gets put out there. And that's an incentive to get your stars up on Apple. I mean, there's a reason to do that. Listening to your show, there is way more entertainment value from getting somebody's voicemail.
I want someone to call us from a Pork Tornadoes concert and leave us a voicemail. These guys are awesome.
So the phone number's on the website, Farm4Profit, but it's 515-207-9640 because we already have the Google Voice set up. And people call. I'm just not going to answer anymore.
Oh, so it actually rings?
It rings to me.
Oh.
So I'm just
That's
not going to
weird.
answer anymore.
Thank God mine just goes straight to voicemail, and all of a sudden I get a notification.
Maybe you should make it do that. You should answer one.
It tells me that I get a call from Farm4Profit.
Gotcha.
Because there's the farmers from Wisconsin last week called and said they wanted to buy fertilizer. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not BW Fusion.
Yeah.
But you called the right guy because I can get you in contact with BW Fusion.
It'd be interesting if someone called and they didn't know we were recording a show and we just
that'd be
them come up.
awesome.
Yeah.
We got a caller on line 6.
I mean, you get, and the cool thing is you get to interact with your fans, and we've had some hilarious stuff. People saying, "Oh, you need to review Tremors, and you need to do that cocktail," But then we've had some kind of emotional ones too. A guy just called a couple weeks ago that said his daughter was born and was in the ICU for the last 2 months, and that him and his wife basically switched places every day for the last 2 months. And he said it was an hour from his house, and every time he was leaving the hospital, he needed something to just forget. And he kind of teared up in the voicemail being like, I just listened to you guys, and like, thank you so much. And I can't wait for the day my daughter's home from that. It's what?
Yeah.
We had, and then there was a guy that like talked about how hard COVID was on him, and like how he considered, his wife had left him, he lost his job, and he had considered like taking his life, and he didn't. And he said that like, you guys like gave me the laughter I need. We're like, whoa.
We can't carry this weight.
Don't tell us that, man. But you, as fans, it's really great to be able to actually have a line of communication to somebody that you feel like, when you listen to podcasts, you feel like you know people,
right?
Because you're having a conversation with them essentially in your car. So to be able to hear them actually tell you that, it's pretty cool.
We had the privilege of traveling to 2 farm shows this year, and we'll get to do a third one. But we went to Louisville to the National Farm Machinery Show, and then Commodity Classic in New Orleans. And it's fascinating that people feel like they know you.
Yeah.
Like when they run into you, you don't have a clue. You have an idea sometimes, depending upon how many times they interact with you. But they know way more about you than you do them. And, you know, it's a position to where I'm just cheerily curious.
Yeah.
I just want to know more about you. You know, where'd you come from? Are you that kid from West Virginia?
If I could make a suggestion to those people, it was like, introduce yourself right away, because we have no clue. And some of them do come up and like, and you probably do follow them sometimes, but it's like, I follow a ton of people. Like, man, just let me know who you are. Right.
But let me ask you this: how do they know what you look like? Have you posted photos?
So we do. We are pretty active on TikTok ourselves.
Okay, so maybe TikTok.
A lot of people follow us on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we also have Twitter and Facebook that we will post out pictures of and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But otherwise, our album cover is caricatures of us.
Cool.
You know, someone did an artistic rendering.
Yep.
Close
if you wanna
enough,
call it
right?
that.
Yeah, you get it.
They can point. You know, once they see us, they can be like, "Oh, you're the one on the left."
We made the mistake of not showing what we looked like for about a year and a half, and people were just going off of our voices on TikTok and our voices on the podcast. And then when we finally started putting our podcast on YouTube, people lost their minds. They're like, that's not what you... Shut up. You don't look like that. I've been listening to you for a year, and that is not what you look like.
That's great.
My favorite podcast, the Twisted History podcast, that was me. Is I didn't even know what they looked like. And then after I started following them on TikTok, I was like, oh, no. That is not at all.
Come on.
Isn't that weird how your mind does that?
Yes. The other thing we got the TV in our car, or a video. You can play DVDs and the kids can ride the back of the car. The same thing goes for some movies. Like I had never seen Trolls.
Oh. Yeah.
I had heard. I knew all the songs to Trolls. I'd heard. I'd never seen it.
And a Kedrick.
And and I finally got to see it. And I was like, oh no, that's not right.
That's not my movie.
They don't look anything like what was it. Like she was way more badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Anna
you remember
Kendrick's one of my biggest. She's hottie.
She's yours.
Yeah.
That's funny. So before we get into the last drink, one of the things that really brought back perspective to me preparing for our conversation today is I watched a documentary or a biography or whatever you want to call it on Garth Brooks. You know?
Okay.
I'm not gonna say I'm a huge Garth Brooks fan, but I love Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
And I got to see him when he came to Des Moines and did his 12 shows in a row or whatever it was. But he has a super loyal fan base, like to the nth degree. But he said it right that he is not him. He is him because of the audience, because of his fans. He says, listeners, fans, and audience are the reason he is. They can do for me what I can't do for myself. And I thought that hit so home, and I actually went back and looked up that quote because it is. Your band, your podcast, our podcast, we aren't where we are without the listeners.
Yeah.
And there's no way to say thank you enough. There's no way to tell people that that's the reason except for just keep going.
Yeah.
Just show up. Do it again.
That's a great quote, man. I initially was thinking of something different when he said that. I was thinking more of how the power of the experience and the power of what your fans make you is that you're really not yourself. When you'll hear that from a lot of musicians, that who I am on stage is not really who I am.
Yep.
That's more what I was thinking what he said there, but you're absolutely right, man. Like the people ask me a lot of times, they're like, how are you how do you do everything that you're doing? Because I have a lot on my plate, and I like it that way.
Yep.
But that's the reason. Is like why half of this is started for fulfillment purposes of yourself. Like you're doing this because you like it,
Right. You can't do it forever if you don't.
No.
I mean, you can. It just is going to suck.
It's gonna, a lot of podcasts out there doing it. Like, someday, my big break, I'm gonna have 400 episodes ready to go. But no, you're right. Like the reason I wanted to drive 2 hours to come see you guys today was because I care about getting some new fans onto some of the stuff that I do and that I put a lot of work into. And it's like, that's why. That's how we have to operate.
Yeah. And you have to be in the ag community if you're in Iowa, right? Because there's so many ag people.
Yeah.
Well, the cool
Come
part
on
that
out.
the cool part that you kind of alluded to is you've got shows every weekend.
Yeah.
Basically. And they may be in our listeners' backyard. And now they know that it's not just a garage band. The Pork Tornadoes are legit. Like, this is something I want to turn up for. Turn out, turn up.
Turn up and turn out.
There you go.
Turn to up.
Get there.
we actually we get a lot of crap because people hear our name a lot because we're good at putting our name out there.
Sure.
They hear us, they're like, oh, that band, like I saw them 10 years ago and they were terrible. You know, you get a lot of that. Or my friend said they weren't very good. So a lot of times we're fighting an uphill battle.
Sure.
And we were just at the Rust Belt in East Moline. Have you ever heard of that venue?
No. But it sounds like a place I want to go,
Dude,
actually.
it's an old car factory that has been abandoned for years, and somebody bought it in like 2019, converted it into the best sounding live room I've ever heard. The speakers, the production, giant stage is unreal. They can fit about 4,000 people in there. It's this narrow room. And they started to do these giant shows, but then COVID happened, and now they're getting to the point where they're like, we just need to try to bring people in here so they can see what it's like. So they hired us, the first ever cover band to play there, and we met the sound guy, the light guy when we got there, and they're like, hey, we got to tell you, they told us that that a cover band was playing, and we were like, what the? This is stupid. Pork Tornadoes. And then the one guy pulled up our YouTube and started playing it, and he's like, hey, Nick, come over here. And Nick's like, what? He goes, do you know who this is? He goes, no. Is that the cover band? He goes, damn it, they're really good. And then when we showed up, they're like, we were hoping you were at least assholes.
Yeah.
So then we could be like, well, you're good, but and he's like, you guys are so nice. This is stupid. And so like we fight that a lot in the Pork Tornado. So what I tell people is like, take anything out of your head. If we're gonna be nearby you, just go to our YouTube and click on Click on Tennessee Whiskey. Click on In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Click on anything and just see how it feels. Because I think we'll break some of those molds you have in your head.
I'm not going to lie. When you reached out, it was a direct message on Facebook, which we get quite a few of, and I'm not very good at following up on the Facebook platform. And we get emails. I mean, we get people that want to be on all the time.
Yeah.
And I put you off for a while.
It's okay.
But I went out and I did just what you said, and I went, okay.
Oh, wait, they're pretty good.
This is going to have nothing to do with our podcast except for pork and tornadoes. But we're going to do this. Yeah.
But it's okay. Like that's how it should be. It should just be the thing about, I think, what agriculture probably is about and what Iowa's about is just like people having communications and relating to each other. So like, why not?
Oh, right.
Well, why not?
Absolutely.
Comment. You're so nice.
I hate this. This guy's really nice.
You guys are too nice.
You really are Iowa. Pork, tornadoes.
I am.
And they're nice. Damn you, Iowa.
I used to claim when people would be like, where are you from? I'd be like, St. Louis. Until about 10 years ago, I go, I'm from Iowa.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an Iowa boy. I love it here. I'm never moving.
Nice.
All right, let's try this last one, Corey. Dahl Distributing dropped off 3. Now, what we had first one was a wheat ale, and then we went to a chocolate-covered cherry cider.
Yep. This is that a Swaza?
Yeah, that's tequila.
Swaza? It's an agave.
It's Sauza.
Agave is what makes tequila. It's an agave cocktail, and it's called Lime Crush. So it better be crushable, right?
Ooh.
8%.
Yeah.
You can smell the tequila.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's crushable.
It is crushable.
This would be dangerous. Like really cold.
Yes.
Really cold on a hot day.
Yeah, not 45 minutes on the table and then poured into a cup.
I've been holding it in my hand for 10 minutes.
Sweetened with agave nectar.
I'll go out on this. I'd say I'd rather just have a plain old margarita,
Yeah.
I think, than this. But
Yep.
if I really need my tequila fix and all I got's this can,
If I was floating down the river and that's
Yes.
what I wanted,
And this is the
something
skinny can.
convenient.
that is you can't hide that one.
Can't hide that one.
But you can
Not
defend
as
it.
girthy.
Well, I wanted a margarita, but we're going to be floating down the river, so
It's Cinco de Mayo.
it had to be, it fits in the cooler better. And exactly. You could defend this.
You could defend it, yeah. You don't have to walk in the room saying that, hey, I brought these because it's all my wife had.
I don't know where it's from. It doesn't say the brewery.
I think Sauza is a tequila.
So it'd be at the Salsa side.
Yeah, so I think that's where it's coming
Distillery.
from.
It doesn't matter. It came from Dahl Distributing.
There you go.
And that's all that matters to us. But
You guys
you've got
have-
it. Yes.
You guys have Cedar Ridge.
Yeah, man.
How do you got that?
Cedar Ridge is in my backyard. That's in Swisher, Iowa. And what, interestingly enough, kind of happened, the relationship formed with the Pork Tornadoes first. We were growing like they were. We were becoming this brand name slowly together. And we said, why don't we team up? Why don't we make a barrel of whiskey, like a single barrel?
Yeah.
That is our whiskey that we can put our label on that you can sell. Wow. Dream come. I am a whiskey man.
Yep.
And like that's how this beard grew. I mean,
Yep.
like lots of whiskey.
Yep.
And we jumped at that. So we partnered with them for about 2-3 years while we got to hand pick the barrel and taste them and let them age and then try them and mix them at the end. And we sold, there was like 500 bottles of that. We sold it. It was the coolest experience ever. And then they moved on to they kept growing. Cedar Ridge is gigantic.
It's huge.
Yeah.
They're the number one selling bourbon in the entire state of Iowa now for 2 years in a row. That is any bourbon ever made. Like they are the number one bought one in Iowa.
Yep.
And then they partnered with Slipknot, which took them to a whole nother level. And now we have just now signed on as they're our exclusive whiskey for the summer.
That is so cool.
So we're back in business with them. We might do another barrel. But because of that relationship, I reached out to them from Confused Breakfast as well. And I was like, guys, have you considered stop spending your money on stupid things and talk about local podcasts?
Yeah.
And they were just having those conversations as a business. Like, should we sponsor a podcast? I don't know. And I talked them into it. This is back when we had, 500 downloads an episode. And I said, we're growing. Just like you guys are. We should do this together.
Yep.
And luckily they jumped on board with us and they got to ride that wave of now we're like 10,000 downloads an episode or whatever. And so it's been awesome because we're getting these messages from people from North Carolina and California being like, dude, you've been talking about it for months. I finally
got
ordered
it.
a bottle and
Wow.
it's so good. I Cedar Ridge, I'm not just going to say that. It is seriously one of the best bourbons I've ever had. Yeah. And some of their single barrels are just like, oh my God.
I will echo that. My story with Cedar Ridge or my recollection of it coming to birth was, we had Iowa's whiskey was Templeton Rye.
Always, yes.
Right? Templeton Rye, sponsored the Nadas,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. And then there was like a snafu, like they weren't using the original recipe and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden there was Cedar Ridge.
Yeah, just a little Cedar Ridge.
And, my dad and I used to drink Templeton Rye. And then we had a bottle of that. And holy shit. I mean, it's so smooth.
Changed.
It's so good.
Do you remember how weird it was though? Templeton Rye was one of those things where you had to know somebody who knew somebody
To get the real
just
stuff.
to even get the bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was even like it was the real stuff, but it was the marketed stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Then all of a sudden there was that turning point where it was in every like come and go in Casey's.
When he sold,
And that's when it was like, this doesn't taste the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then what did all that stuff come out about how they didn't actually even distill it in Iowa or something like that?
Yeah.
And it just got weird. And
One of the, he sold his controlling share, but we interviewed Scott Bush.
Yeah, so I was going back to find that one.
who's Scott Bush?
So he was his uncle or his grandpa. Anyway, it skipped a generation.
Yeah.
And he was the owner of Templeton Rye.
Okay.
And then sold controlling interest. So he's still like 33 or 31% owner, but has nothing to do with it
started
anymore.
his new deal
foundry.
down at
West Des Moines.
What the heck is his name?
Is
Called,
that
called the Foundry.
that's a whiskey making, or that's just like a bar restaurant?
So he will do just what you mentioned.
About making barrels of.
They pretty much
cool.
They've got a couple of their own. They've got a vodka and a whiskey, and an Iowa corn whiskey and a bourbon that they will age themselves. But their main focus is the custom project. So you can bring your own corn from the farm, your own rye, your own wheat, whatever you want to put in it.
Wow.
And they'll make a custom mash bill, and you can have your own barrel or 2 barrels or pony barrel. I mean,
Corporate people will do it, and they'll bring customers in.
That's a cool
and they got a
thing.
cigar room
That's
in the
a
back.
really cool
and-
thing.
it's an awesome place. You should check it out. It's in West Des Moines.
I'll tell you a story about when we were working with Cedar Ridge to make our barrel. What they essentially did was we helped them make the whiskey, which when you distill it, it's like 140 proof. It's clear.
Yep.
It needs to go in these barrels, right? So they took everything we did and they put them in 10 barrels, and then it sat there for 2 years, right? Then we went there. This exact same liquid went into each of these exact same barrels, and then when we taste tested each of them, they were radically different. Like every one of them tasted so unbelievably different that we're like, are you sure these are the same barrels? They said, yeah. And that's how the beauty of Iowa whiskey is that our climate is so weirdly harsh in so many directions that it depends on how thick the barrel was. Was there one little crack that wasn't as sealed on this one?
Yeah.
Was this one slightly stored in a slightly hotter part of the barrel shed than this one was? And so we got to sit there. We picked 4 of those 10 barrels to then mix together into make this is our whiskey. And it was the coolest. I'm like, I'm in the wrong business. Like, I want to be in the whiskey business. It's so awesome. And it's so hip right now, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whiskey's everything around the country.
That show was in July of 2020.
Yeah, it was one of our first
Oh,
ones.
damn.
That seems like a long time ago.
It was a long time.
And that was actually only a couple shows after Jamie Pollard, which was another good show.
Yep.
But yeah, it was fun. He's a hell of a guy and a great story and a great vision. Graduate of MIT. Just smart dude. Yeah, the whole thing was a great
I'll
experience.
have to listen to that one.
We had to catch back up with him sometime.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. But I like that your social media interaction is phenomenal. And a couple of the podcasts that I listened to, just to get more background on you, that's the reason they had you on, was, your take on marketing and consumer perception and that kind of stuff. But I want to take on one of the biggest challenges that has been across TikTok over the last 45 days. And I want to debate whether or not there are more doors or wheels.
Wait, what? So I haven't been a part of this.
You haven't
debate.
seen this?
So I got to admit, like I've been trying to reduce my social media intake.
Yeah.
Now I will put it out all day long. You consume it.
Yes.
But I'm trying to stay away from it. So I have not been like watching TikTok in a while.
So there's a debate going on right now
Are there more doors or wheels?
in the world. We can even just call it the United States. In the United States, are there more doors or are there more wheels?
So you're initially automatically saying wheels. But then
Why?
Well, because you're like, well, there's 4. Oh, wait a minute. See, then
It's 4 doors.
So then it's got to be doors, because then how many doors are there in houses?
Yeah, but how many golf carts are there that don't have doors?
How many wheels are on your chair right now?
Oh no!
See where this is going?
Is a garage door a door?
It's a door.
Oh,
These are
my
sliding
God.
doors.
But each garage door has wheels that ride in tracks.
There's wheels on these doors. See where this? Do you see where this
I don't
goes?
like this.
Like it consumes.
Was it like that dress thing? Remember, is the dress gold or?
blue? Yeah.
Right. So now you've got farmers that are starting to do spring tillage, and they show you their tractor that has one door, but they've got all the wheels on the tractors, and they look at all the gauge wheels on the tillage implement and the planter.
It's got to be wheels, right?
I think it's doors. I think it's doors.
I mean, if you think about it, there are a lot more doors in New York than there probably are wheels.
Yeah, apartments, hotels. I mean, each house has probably 12 doors.
But I would say in Iowa, I would say there's more wheels.
Are we also talking about like, does it have to be a complete like rim and tire? Because there's a lot of just like tires that are in a junkyard.
true.
Are those wheels?
Well, then I even went. Then I saw a TikTok to where somebody was going down the route of their kids' toys. So a lot of these
Matchbox
kids'
cars.
toys, right?
Yeah, because those doors do not function. So are those doors?
That's true. The toy tractors with all the implements, the semis, the wheels. Yeah,
Maybe it is wheels. Maybe it is wheels. I don't know.
I feel like in Iowa it's wheels.
Okay.
We're not as densely populated.
I'm going to stick with doors just to be controversial.
But that's and I don't disagree. I mean, if you think about the population density, and if my case is the way we're going to go, there are more densely populated areas than there are rural.
Yeah.
There would be more doors.
And every car, in theory, is basically just canceling itself out, right?
In theory, unless you run in a 2-door.
So is a back
probably
hatch,
a
is that
door.
a door?
Probably. Probably.
Every opening to a compartment is probably.
You throw a dually.
But there are some that only have 2 doors.
Right.
So I think they're going to cancel. I think cars cancel themselves
There's
out.
motorcycles that don't have any doors.
See? So that's why we're going
Bicycles,
wheels.
motorcycles.
That's why we're going wheels.
What did I send you today on? Was that on TikTok or Facebook? That the motorcycle in a bicycle race. You just reminded
Oh
me of
yeah,
that.
the motorcyclist that identifies as a bicycle now,
Just set the
winning all the
world-
bicycle races.
World record.
I laughed.
That is. Well, we laughed again. Yeah, I had to send that. That was. Yeah. That's a problem with me consuming social media.
I know. I had to take actually after the Oscars thing. It was my official exit of my personal Facebook page for a little while. It's still active. I still get messages, but I was just like, I can't do this right now.
Do you think that's real?
Oh, it was real, 100%.
100%.
1
I
million.
mean, 2 of the best actors in the world.
What wasn't real was the speech afterwards. Like that was
Yeah.
acting. But dude, no, Chris Rock was visibly like shaken up by that, and they bleeped out all the stuff. They wouldn't have done that if that was
I
entertainment.
mean, but what better thing for them? No one was watching.
Nobody
cares about
cared.
Hollywood.
And then everybody watched from that moment on.
Yeah.
I think it was real. I think it's totally real.
But I mean, is it true that they have a pretty open marriage and all that kind of stuff? So they're open to anything except for a joke. I mean,
Chris Rock is gonna get paid
Oh,
soon
yeah.
because he's gonna do another special.
I saw Adam
yeah.
Sandler's going out with him or something.
Oh my God!
Because that's the other side of this is Will Smith just dropped a book. He
Yeah.
did that movie with the Williams sister. I mean, the speculation behind it not being real.
I get it, but I also think this was Will Smith's. This is what the moment he's been waiting for his entire life, and it was going to happen, and he was ready for it, and then he sort of screwed that up.
Yeah.
Like it's forever
I mean,
not what
he
it
was
should have been.
laughing during the joke.
He was. So Allie, my wife,
Cut
says-
away and then cut back. What?
My wife said that she saw when he looked at her and she wasn't laughing.
Yeah.
His emotions.
And then the camera switch. We talked about we have a Patreon only audio episode on the Confused Breakfast, and we talked about this last night.
Okay.
All of our thoughts, but what I said was I'd give anything to have had that camera stay, because he laughs, she goes, and then the camera changes.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened right after that camera left.
right.
Well, I bet they have the video of it somewhere.
It's got to be somewhere.
because they didn't just pan.
I'm assuming it always films, right?
Yeah. Right. Unless they have like a little
Somebody-
switcher
Ooh.
back there.
Yeah, because our switcher.
But if you go back and analyze the slap, right? You would normally, if you're slapping with your right hand, you would kind of step into it with like your left. He was not set. Like, why? If you were serious about this, why wouldn't you punch the guy?
I have a theory that he started walking and didn't know what he was going to do. And then I think he was gonna punch, and then like immediately it was like, "Don't punch."
Yeah.
And it turned into
But
a
where's security? Where's all that?
dude.
I mean,
That's what I'm wondering.
well, I know. I can't believe that he got to walk back down to his seat and sat there.
and then you
stay
get an
there.
award.
And most of the people there were like, "Yay!"
Yay.
Well,
Standing ovation when he got his award.
Yeah.
I just the how all of a sudden one of the most entertaining moments in TV history could polarize America that much was
Again.
like, how did this happen?
He said, greatest night in American television history.
Yeah. So then you go to commercial break. Did someone come up there to the mic and say, "We will continue this show, and you will stand and applaud at every award"? You know, did that happen?
I just think Hollywood's so we love on our podcast, we love movies and we love actors and we go nuts for them, but the non-business side of Hollywood I could care less about. I could care less what any of them have to say about anything, and I just think they live in a fairy tale land.
Yeah.
And it's not like their fault, because we sort of make them live that way, because
Yeah.
they get paid millions of dollars and we care everything they have to say. But my God,
Without us, they wouldn't be nothing.
yeah,
Right?
Right. Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
there you
So,
go.
so are you guys moving Men in Black up on the?
We're thinking about it. We try to if they're doing a reboot of something, we try to do the old one. So we did the OG Batman before the new Batman came out. We are going to do Top Gun before the new Top Gun comes out in May.
Yep.
We did that.
My
for
wife's
something
had
else.
that on her calendar forever.
Dude, I think it's going to be amazing. I think for what it's going to be, it's not going to win an award.
Yeah.
But I think if we go to the theater and watch this, I think it's just going to be like, oh my God.
I miss the old Tom Cruise.
I do too. We just did Cocktail.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember that one. When's the last time you saw that movie?
Probably been 10 years.
I probably watched it. My parents were probably watching it. I was probably little.
Dude, it's bad. It's really bad because Tom Cruise and Elizabeth Shue are essentially at almost like they're apexing. They're becoming like really big deals.
Yep.
And they're really good in their roles, but the script is hot garbage.
Yeah.
The script is terrible. But you remember it for the soundtrack as a kid.
Yeah.
Remember you can see the poster right now, can't you?
Yeah.
Everybody had that soundtrack. And you're like, oh, yeah, they go to Hawaii. And it's like, don't worry, be happy. But, man, go back and watch it.
Well, back then, the soundtracks meant something.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Top Gun soundtrack. Oh my gosh.
Kenny Loggins. Shoot, man.
So good.
We'll have to add some Danger Zone to the summer
You
set
ever
list.
notice-
I didn't realize it was from 1988.
Yeah.
Zoom in on Tom Cruise's face.
The middle tooth.
The middle tooth
So
is
he's
not
fixed
centered.
it. He's fixed it.
He has?
But if you go back to movies like Cocktail, find a Cocktail photo.
Zoom in.
Zoom in.
He has a tooth. Like normally you have a gap in the middle of your mouth. He's got one single tooth
One of his tooth is like
in the middle. It's not centered. Oh my gosh! Oh my god! You see that?
He
Oh, yeah, I got
somehow fixed this.
I didn't know I picked a website with the most pop-up Jiminy Christmas. They're selling ads on this website.
TampaBay.com.
There's one for pork tornadoes.
They're listening to us talk right now. But it's so funny because even some of the bad movies we talk about, we're like, it's still awesome to watch. Movies are great.
Yeah.
And we all love them and we all associate stuff with them, like even Three Ninjas and stuff like that. I mean, we did Goonies. We did all those movies are so good.
Yeah.
And we loved them.
How do you consume these movies now? Do you have to go out and buy them, or are they all digital?
Most of them are digital. Yeah. I haven't had a DVD player hooked up and
I didn't know if you had like a
years.
library sitting around. Or
No.
Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever it is.
And we usually tell you in the episode, like in case you haven't seen this in a while, here's where you can find it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm finding out all the stupid subscriptions that I still have that I've never turned off, where you'll be like, oh, it's only on Stars. Apparently I have Stars. I've been paying for this for a year.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, this is the time to where we have to make the executive decision to close this out while people are still wanting more, because
There you go.
that
more.
gives us the opportunity when you're up here for Prairie Fest to maybe hammer out another one.
Let's bring the whole band in August,
Let's
man.
do a.
We can set up. We got
music
what?
hall.
16 channels. We got 12 channels.
Yeah.
We can set it up. But
That'd be fun.
we can't let them off easy. So every guest we ask the same question. It's what do you know now that you wish you'd have known sooner? But listeners, while he's thinking about that, thank you for joining us. If this is your first time and you made it all the way to the end, you are a rock star and you are the best. And you're the one that needs to leave us a voicemail, because we're going to start this thanks to Mike from Pork Tornadoes and the Confused Breakfast Podcast. Our number is 515-207-9640.
Does that spell anything?
No, it should have. 1-800-Corey-Rocks. But yes, that'd be cool. Leave us, instead of the review, we'll stick to the reviews on Apple Podcasts. I mean, but that'd be fun to start incorporating that.
I'm excited. I want, if for the fun shows, I want some like drunken after the bar stuff. Yeah. Slobbering. Like, it'd just be hilarious.
Drunken from your armchair
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And at a Pork Tornadoes concert.
That's what we really want.
Yeah.
It is.
I came to see them. They were terrible. I still love your podcast, though.
You guys on your next podcast should call the number and
We'll just call each other's podcast.
yeah, exactly. Bump each other up.
That is what we need to do. Hey, we just left. You were awesome. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right. What do you know now that you wish you'd have known sooner?
I would have to say that jobs, careers, passions don't have to be traditional. That, I went to college and I got a degree in English, and then I worked in corporate America for a little bit, and nothing fulfilled me. And then once I finally started finding things that I cared about, that I wanted to work for and that I wanted to study about, that's when I started being successful in things. So I wonder for the future generations, like what college is going to mean in the future. But I know I was right on the cusp of that. Like, I probably didn't have to go to college,
Yep.
Right. So I think being truly passionate about something means something, and that's just ride that. Just go for it. Just do. If you want to do that, go do it. Just put everything you got into it. You're going to be fine.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Corey said it before, too, on the show that you're going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get into that pressure point, I mean, that's your only option is to figure it out.
And you're backed into a corner.
Yep.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. And if you don't,
Next.
next project, next podcast.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great,
Like I
guys.
said,
I appreciate
sorry for
it.
putting you off for so long.
No, it's all
but-
good, man.
But this was fun. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Thanks for driving and doing it in studio because I know we wouldn't have had this connection.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Over Zoom.
I would have
always
been
better
having
in person.
whiskey instead of some of these beers, but it's fine.
Yeah, we need to talk Cedar Ridge.
Next time. Well, that's what I said. You're going to be back in town.
I'll bring a bottle next time.
We can do
That
that.
sounds good. From the barrel.
Exactly. I do have a
in
few.
the office.
What's that?
Is that or is that where you guys record? Like, is the barrel there? Like, you just like open it up?
You mean in the Confused Breakfast?
Yeah.
No, we just have a bottle with us at all times,
that's
and we always consume some Cedar Ridge while we're talking
pull it out.
nostalgic stuff. Whoa!
Like, where
I have one right here.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect. That is awesome. And listeners, thanks for joining us. If you're new or you've been here forever, we appreciate it. And a special thank you to Gary Hoff and BW Fusion. Just like you said with Cedar Ridge, they've been with us since the beginning, basically. When it was only a vision and we had growth, we're like, grow with us. Those guys have been there from the start. So give them a check. Check them out.
Yep.
See what
Give
we
them
can
your
do.
money.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Crocodile distributing beer. You deserve it.
Oh, I said I was going to play. Oh, look at this. I got to play that.
You got to play it.
It was Tennessee whiskey, right?
Yeah. You can get that on all Spotify platforms or YouTube's. We just hit 1 million streams on Spotify the other day.
Used to spend my nights out in the barroom. Liquor was the only love I know. Then you rescued me from reaching for the bottle.